Hi there, this is James Tripp. This is a short video on flow. Now flow, if you don't know about this, if you haven't heard of this concept already, flow is a state of mind, it's a state of being, it's a state of engagement with the world, and it's a very important one. If you're on this website, you've probably checked out my blogs, and I know if you checked out my blogs, you're going to be the kind of person who is interested in being able to create more of the experiences you want in your life, to be able to bring more of the things you would like to have into your life, to have more influence within your life, all of these things. I know because you have an interest in this, you're going to need to know, if you don't already, about flow. Because flow is an essential state, it's an essential way of engaging with the world if you want to be able to be optimally empowered to create the life that you want, to create the circumstances that you want, to create the relationships you want, the kind of prosperity you want, to be able to bring cool things into your life. You need to know about flow, how it works, how to connect with it, how to utilize it to your benefit. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit on this video. Before we do, to frame that up, just very recently, not so long ago, I was creating an audio for my Reality Shaper program. This is a coaching group, Reality Shaper is. It's for people who are, as you can tell, Reality Shaper. They are interested in becoming more influential when it comes to shaping their own realities. They are interested in stepping up their ownership in life and their ability to create the kinds of lives they want. So one of the foundational audios for this was an audio I did called Creator versus Reactor. Now this is a really important distinction, creator versus reactor, and it connects with flow, and it connects with being able to create the kind of life that you want. So let me just unpack this a little bit here before we talk a little bit more about flow. So creator versus reactor. You probably heard of the law of attraction. The law of attraction is an idea that if you set your mind right, if you think the right things, if you become really clear about what it is that you want to have in life, and you focus on that, that the universe somehow provides, I don't know what, it changes its metaphysical vibrations, and these things just emerge into your life and just turn up just because you thought the right kinds of thoughts. You got really focused on your outcome. Now, as I'm saying that, I'm probably sounding like I'm not 100% aligned with the law of attraction, and that's exactly right. But I wouldn't rule it out entirely, because there are a lot of people out there that make that work. They do focus on what they want, and they do find that it starts to apparently effortlessly manifest in their world. However, the truth is that only happens for a certain type of person. It only happens for a person who is a creator. If a person is a reactor, they can think all the positive thoughts about what they want to have, all they want, but if they have a reactor way of engaging with the world, it's not going to happen. So if you want to make something like the law of attraction work, if you want to be able to think, what is it that I want to bring into my life right now, and have that stuff come into your life, you need to engage in the world, with the world, in a particular way, in a creation-based way rather than a reaction-based way. Let's just look at this distinction here between creation, creators, reaction and reactors. So a reactor, let's start with a reactor. Let's start with the less useful way of engaging with the world. And this is interestingly the way that most people engage with the world, not because it's natural to them, but because it's been societally conditioned into them, especially through the schooling process in the Western world. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for this that I'm not going to go into here. I don't want to get too political. But most of us, we start out as creators when we're kids, but we get conditioned into being reactors. What this means is we get conditioned into thinking that we need to react to circumstances. We get conditioned into sacrificing the moment to do what we need to do for the future. So we're always in a place of sacrifice, we're always in a place of reacting, whereas we're always in a place of somebody telling us, right, you've got to do this, this, this and this, and we do it. Or we tell ourselves, right, I've got to do this, this, this and this. We say, right, in order to get this, I need to do this, this, this and this. And reactors place obligation upon themselves, or allow others to place obligation upon them. So they end up in a work state or a grind state where they're grinding through all the time. There's another thing that's popped up that they've got to deal with. Most people live their lives like this. Most people have jobs that are all about this. You know, you're reacting to an email that's just come in, you're reacting to a demand from your boss, you're reacting to a demand from a customer. Work is piling up. I've mentioned this joke before, a joke from the television show The Office. I love this joke. David Brent says, "I thought I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was just some bastard with a torch bringing me more work." I love that joke. It sums up the reactor lifestyle, the reactor way of engaging with the world absolutely perfectly. Now, I'm guessing if you've grown up in the Western world, you know this. Most people know this. I know this. People feel in the grip of it all the time. So many people that I work with as clients are in this space of, and they can't see it. All they can see are the circumstances. All they can see are their obligations. All they can see are all the things that they have to do. And I'm there helping them to escape from that into a different way of being, into a more natural way of being, into the way that we live our lives when we're kids before we get conditioned out of it. And that is the way of being a creator. Now, a creator is a very different kind of a person. A creator is a person who is free from obligation. Not because their circumstances are different, but because their mindset is different and their way of engaging with the world is different. Now, I'm aware that you may look at your life and say, but I do have obligations. And I understand that, because when we allow ourselves to be conditioned as reactors, obligations stack up. That's the way life works. And it can take a little bit of creative application to figure your way out of that to a different place in life. But the fundamental thing is this: you want to connect to being a creator. A creator is very different. Creator is a person who is connected to the moment. He's not outside of the moment thinking, I've got to do this, and is trying to rush into the future all the time. A creator creates from the now and into the now. They connect with the moment. They connect with their passion, their inspiration, their desire, and they allow action to spontaneously emerge from themselves, and they find themselves just doing what it takes for its own sake to bring the thing they want to create into the world. And they do it right now and in the moment, and in a way that is fulfilling and rewarding in and of itself. The thing that gets created into the world is almost like a byproduct of the creation state and the creation engagement, which is rewarding in and of itself. And this is what kids are like. I've said this elsewhere, but this is what kids are like. You know, if a kid thinks to themselves, I want to build a robot, before you know what's what, they're saying, can I take this cornflake packet? Can I empty this out? They're not stacking up a load of obligation in their mind. They're not saying, oh, this is going to be really hard, you know, how am I going to make a good robot? I don't know if the robot I make will be good enough. Doing all the stuff that we do to get in our own way. Kids don't do that. They just connect. I want to build a robot. They're emptying the cornflakes out. They're saying, where's the scissors? They're getting the scissors. They're cutting some silver tops up or whatever, and they're creating this robot live in the moment, unhindered by anything. They are in flow. They are in creative flow. They are engaging with the flow. They are participating actively in the unfolding of life in an unhindered way, because they haven't been conditioned out of it yet. So here's the thing. There's the sense of it. You've got creators and you've got reactors. Creators connect to the moment. They connect to their vision. They connect to their inspiration. They clear away any superfluous thought. Anything that doesn't contribute is cleared away. They have a very clear, relaxed focus, and action emerges. They're present, they're in the moment, the reward is there in and of itself. That's the creator mindset. The reactor has stuff stacked upon them, obligations, tasks. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I've got an inbox full of emails. I've got 60 emails to get through before lunch. Then I've got this customer I need to meet this afternoon. The reactor comes from that place and lives from that place. Now, the simple thing to be aware of here is reactors do not create the lives they want. The reactors cannot create the lives they want. If you're living your life outside of time, always trying to get through a bunch of stuff to get to somewhere, that's the reactor's way of living, and you're never going to get there. It's not going to happen. There will be no magic coming. You can go and read your books on the law of attraction if you like. You can think about what it is that you want, but as long as you're reacting to circumstances, you're not creating. You're not a creator. You're not connecting to your own power to really bring the things that you want into your life. Because you need to rise above reaction. You need to transcend it. You need to clear all of that stuff out the way, and you need to flow. This is the key thing, flow. Flow is the state of the creator. Now, flow, in many senses, that term, flow, was coined by a guy called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who is a modern-day psychologist. And Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is interested in people like high-performance athletes and artists and these kind of people. People that could do things exquisitely well. He became interested in the state that they go into when they are doing the things they do exquisitely well, when they are doing them effortlessly and easily, and they are just flowing, you know. So maybe there's a tennis player, a world-class tennis player, Wimbledon champion, for example. When they play, and when they play at their best, they're in a particular state. They are so present in the moment. There are no superfluous, extraneous thoughts going on, nothing to pull them off. They are there. They are there being their very best in that moment, showing up in the highest quality way they possibly can, bringing everything they have to bear, connecting to their full selves and their full potential in that moment, and it just flows. So Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi has identified this flow state. It's a wonderful state. You might have experienced it from time to time. You certainly would have experienced it when you were a kid. Let me just pull up some notes here on my iPad, because I want to give you Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's components of flow. Okay, and remember, flow, this is the state that you need to become intimately connected with and familiar with and able to access, able to live through, if you want to lead a fulfilled and fulfilling life and be able to create the things that you want into your world genuinely. I was going to say easily and effortlessly there. It does feel easy and effortless when you're connected to flow, hence flow. Of course, it doesn't mean that you just sit there vibrating and trying to do that law of attraction thing and hoping stuff appears. There is activity and action involved, but it just spontaneously emerges. So the experience of it is effortless. So here's Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's components of flow. He says, number one, it's an intense and focused concentration on the present moment. I would actually change that. Who am I to disagree with Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi? I would say it's a relaxed, focused, a kind of relaxed, intense, if you see what I mean. It's very focused, but it's not like a focus. It's just a smooth focus. So very present focus. What he's talking about here is presence, being here now, not thinking about 5 minutes time, not thinking about what happened before, not thinking about your past, not thinking about what's held you back, not thinking about the challenges of the future, being right here, right now, 100% focused in the moment. This is a really important thing, really important component of flow. So number two is the merging of action and awareness. Now listen to that, the merging of action and awareness. It's because instead of your awareness being outside of the moment, flitting around going, well, what is it that I need to do now in order to get that thing I'm aware of? You just become aware and you flow. So you know, I said kids, they'll think, I want to build a robot, or it would be cool to build a robot. That's where their awareness goes, and the action just spontaneously emerges at the same time. I love Richard Branson, by the way. I love reading Richard Branson's autobiography, Losing My Virginity. Excellent insight into somebody who lives in high states of flow, who has what's called an autotelic personality. We'll come back, or an autotelic way of engaging in the world. Autotelic means for its own sake, in and of itself, containing its own reward. Richard Branson's a great example of this. You know, he has ideas all the time. He's in a creative flow with his ideas. If you read about his approach, you'll get clues, because as soon as an idea is forming in his mind, he's doing something at the same time. Maybe it's something as simple as taking notes, or he'll have an idea and his hand is already on the telephone, picking it up and dialing somebody to engage them in a conversation about making something happen towards realizing the idea. The thinking and the action blend. The awareness and the action blend. They become one. So this is point 2, merging of action and awareness. Point 3 is a loss of reflective self-consciousness. So what this means is when you're in a state of flow, there is no I anymore. It's not about you. It's not about the ego. It's not like, oh, you know, is this going to be the right thing for me to do, or any of that. There is no I. Some people describe flow, when they're in a real state of flow, is it's almost sometimes when they become aware of it, it's like they become an observer to what's happening. I remember many years ago I had an experience when I was playing pool in a pool hall, and I don't know what happened to me that night. I was in flow. There were no thoughts really going on in my head. I was just playing and feeling the joy of playing pool. And I played at a level that I've never played at before, or actually never played at since. And I remember describing it afterwards, saying it was like I was possessed by the spirit of some long dead pool hustler or something at the moment, in that moment. Because my experience of it was like I was observing almost. I was observing this thing happening all by itself, this very high level of play in the game. And I beat everybody that evening. I stayed on the table the whole night and beat everybody. But it was almost like it wasn't me. It was almost like I wasn't there. I was just channeling something, that I had become somehow irrelevant. And it was just a moment of being without ego, without any stories about who I was or anything like that. So this is what's being talked about here, a loss of reflective self-consciousness. Again, it's being connected to that moment. It's a very pleasant thing, but it's not at the time you're thinking, oh, this is pleasant, because as soon as you thought that, your self-consciousness would be back on, if you see what I mean. So that's kind of disappeared and diminished for the time. So point number 4 is a sense of personal control or agency over the situation or activity. Now, I'm not a fan of the term control. I'm using Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's thing here, because control tends to encourage people to try and control. And with flow, I don't believe you really control. I believe you can influence the flow and nudge the flow and steer the flow. But that's got a very different feel from trying to control it. And people that get into this control zone often block the flow. So Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is saying a sense of personal control or agency over the situation or activity. I would say agency over the situation activity. Now, I'm a big fan of Antonio Damasio, the neuroscientist, and he talks about our core self. That's our real deep self, and where it, you know, he's a neuroscientist, so he's all about the brain. But when we strip away our autobiographical self, which is what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is talking about with lack of self-consciousness, we're left with a core self. And Antonio Damasio says the core self is really just this sense of being, this sense of sentience and a sense of agency, what I call I am and I can. So it's interesting, the overlap here. These guys are from different areas. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is talking about this sense of agency over the situation. That's the I can. It's this sense that you can make a difference, that you can impact. It's not complicated. It's nothing more than a sense of power to influence, a sense of agency. I am and I can. So the I am and the I can is the loss of reflective self-consciousness, just leaving the core self, the I am, and then there's the I can, which is point number 4, the sense of agency over the situation or activity. So number 5 in these components of flow is a distortion of temporal experience. One's subjective experience of time is altered. Now, you've probably had this, right? You know, where you just get so into something and so absorbed that time just flies by. It just kind of happens. You go, whoa, you know, what happened there? Because you're so in the moment. You're so in the moment. Now, that's not to say that you can't become absorbed in other things, you know, that aren't, you can't get that time distortion for other reasons when you're not necessarily in flow. but it is a component of flow. So you'll know what that's like, and nothing else matters in the world. You're not drifting through time thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Just time flies because you're in the moment. The moment is now. The moment is now. The moment is now. There is no perception of time beyond the now, so it just kind of flies by. The last component of flow for Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is experience of the activity as intrinsically rewarding, also referred to as the Autotelic experience. Intrinsically rewarding. This is massive. This is absolutely massive. The poet, the great poet Robert Frost, once said, all great things are done for their own sake. This is exactly what he's talking about, this autotelic idea. Now, going back to the idea of a kid that has this idea, I want to create a robot. Oh, a robot, it will be so cool. And they start taking action. They want to create that robot because they want to. It's rewarding to be engaged in the act of creation. Yeah, it's rewarding to create the robot. The robot is a thing that they consider worth having in and of itself. But there is also a reward in each moment of creative engagement, or each moment of engagement with the activity. They enjoy the activity in and of itself. This is a key component to flow, and it is totally missing with the opposite, which is what I call grind, by the way, which is the state of the reactor. You know, you grind through life rather than flowing through life. In the other state, things are not done for their own sake. Everything is done to get somewhere else. Well, I've got to get through these emails because if I don't get through these emails, then this won't happen. Or, well, I need to do this, 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 and this. Otherwise, I won't get this done in time for this. You know, I need to work hard in my life so that I can buy a big house, or I need to work hard in my life so I can build up a big enough pension fund so that when I retire I can, whatever it might be. You know, this is a big, big distinction. Autotelic is the word that you want to think about here. Things done for their own sake, as Robert Frost says. All great things are done for their own sake. We are so conditioned out of this. This is what modern schooling is all about. Modern schooling is only about, I don't know, 150 years old, and it was set up, it was promoted in the industrial era because that's what were needed. What were needed were people that would grind, that would work, people that would sacrifice right now because workers were required. You know, this is the thing. I said I wouldn't get political, and I'm trying my best not to, but it's going to happen a little bit here. So we get conditioned out of it. We get conditioned to grind rather than flow. We get conditioned to sacrifice the now for some promise in the future, for something that's going to happen in the future. If we just sacrifice now, if we just react to this stuff, if we just do this, if we knuckle down, if we work harder, if we grind harder, then at some point, some kind of a reward will come. But you look at anyone throughout history that's made a real mark. You look at anyone that creates anything really significant, whether it's a work of art, or whether it's a business, or whether it's a wonderful relationship, or whatever. When somebody is empowered to be the creator and they create that thing, it's always done for its own sake. So you think Richard Branson, you know, I love Richard Branson. I've said before, Richard Branson's a guy that just jumps out of bed in the morning and kind of attacks the world with not much more than a childlike abandonment, a grin on his face, a notebook in his hand, just flowing with the ideas, feeling the excitement of the new idea, allowing it, just loving the process. And what emerges from that are all these wonderful businesses that he creates, all these incredible things that he creates all the time. It's always done with that sense of fun and playfulness as well, because that's what it's all about. That's what being in the moment, that's what doing things for their own sake is all about. You will have been told over and over and over and over again as you grew up. I was told when I was 19 years old and I was complaining that I didn't like the job that I had at the time. I was told by a well-meaning adult, well, that's what life's about, doing things that you don't want to do, you know? And that just tripped off that person's tongue like that without thinking about it, because that's how she'd been conditioned. That's how many of us are conditioned out of flow. conditioned and steered away from being creators into being reactors, our natural capacity to flow is damped down and replaced by this experience of grind. Now, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he's a modern psychologist, but what he's talking about is fundamentally human. And so it's been known about for a long, long time. Taoism is ancient philosophy from China. You may know something of Taoism. And the Tao is the way of things. It's the way of life. It's life as it is. It's the universe as it is. It's everything. The Tao is everything. And Taoism is all about living your life in accordance with the Tao. And there's a concept in Taoism called Wu Wei. It means doing without doing. Doing without doing. And it describes what it's really saying is doing without any kind of effort. It's doing with ease. It's still doing. It's still being clear about what you want to have happen. It's still creating, but it's doing it in this way that's effortless, that it's flowing. And really that idea, Wu Wei, it's, I don't know what that is. The Tao Te Ching is what, 2,500 years old, maybe even more. And it's talking about exactly the same thing that Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi is talking about. Doing without doing, flow, engaging with the flow. And this is what it's all about. If you want to lead a fulfilled and fulfilling and rewarding and prosperous life, this is essential. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you grind through your life, it's not going to happen. If you live your life as a reactor, it's not going to happen. People know this. All sorts of people. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he's a psychologist. He knows this. Richard Branson, he's an entrepreneur. He knows this. The Tao Te Ching, you know, it's encapsulated in the Tao Te Ching. This was known 2.5 millennia ago or more. This is perennial knowledge. It's perennial wisdom. It's deep. It's about a way of being in the world. If you want to be a person that really can create and shape your reality, if you want to be a person that can be fantastic and great, if you're watching this on the Hypnosis Without Trance blog, which you might be, you know, if you want to be a great hypnotist, you're not going to do it if you can't flow, if you can't engage with that flow, if you're blocking yourself from doing that. So this is an absolutely massive thing. Now, let's bring this down to the subject of what you can do. Because it's all very well saying, yeah, right, flow, that's great. So how do I access flow becomes the question. How do I engage in that state when it seems to me that life is just a pile of stuff that's being piled on top of me, all these obligations, all of this stuff, all of this work I have to grind through. Incidentally, even if you have a regular job, which is a grind through job, I can guarantee if you bring more flow and creativity into it, you're going to suddenly find yourself making a bigger impact, and that's going to empower you to move up in position, particularly when you take charge of promoting yourself rather than trying to attract promotion. But that's a point aside. So the question is, you know, how do you switch it on? How do you engage with it? Read Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's book, and it's fantastic description of flow and all of this kind of thing, but not really much about how you can get into it. Now, I was reading the Wikipedia entry on flow. That's where I just got those notes from, rather than making my own notes. I was reading the Wikipedia entry on flow a week or so back, and it mentioned in there that people who have an autotelic personality find it easier to switch into a flow state. And I read that and I thought, well, that's not saying anything. All that's saying is people who have a tendency to live in flow find it easier to switch into a flow state. It's not really saying anything. The question is, how do you develop an autotelic way of engaging with the world? How do you develop this? Because it's not enough to know about it. If you just know about it, it's a cute idea. It doesn't impact on your life. If you wanted to transform your life, you need to be able to actually get in there. You need to be able to switch it on. Now, fortunately for me, I mean, I live my life in a creative way. I get to do this. I'm aware. I'd like to say, you know, I'm very lucky. I live my life in accordance with my own desires, and I create and I do all these wonderful things. But it's not really about luck. I made that happen. And when I look back over all of the things that I've done, some of the things that have been really significant, I didn't get the significance of at the time. And one of those things was all the time I spent learning to flow. And I learned to flow through Tai Chi and Neigong, internal martial arts meditation, and other forms of meditation, and all this kind of thing. Now, at the time I was doing that to learn to be a better fighter, because that was my interest. You know, I have another blog somewhere called Flow Boxer, which I haven't really got going, but I teach a small group as well, which is the Flow Boxer group, and that's all about teaching people flow in physical exchange, in combat exchange, so to speak. But it's also flow of the mind, you see, because you can't flow in the body without flowing in the mind, and you can't flow in the mind without being free to flow in the body. The body and the mind are one system. So I didn't realize at the time when I was learning all this martial arts stuff, I was actually learning to let go and flow. And interestingly, as I learned martial arts, as I learned to let go and flow more, my capability as a musician increased, even though I was actually doing less music practice and more more martial arts practice, because my capability of flowing, of accessing flow, of being connected to the moment, of being in a creative space, it was increasing through the activities that I was doing. You know, and over time, as I've shifted and I've learned more about the mind as well and hypnosis, and started looking at it from that perspective, I've been able to distill and bring in more elements that have enabled me to start switching on and flowing. Now, not so long ago, I started bringing more and more of this into my coaching. You know, for a long time, my coaching was all kind of about standard coaching practices, asking the right kinds of questions that direct attention, seed ideas, using conversational hypnosis, this kind of thing. But more and more now, I'm bringing in activities, exercises, things that people can do that start orientating them into an autotelic way of engaging with the world, a way of engaging with the world through flow. So they learn and they start to recondition themselves to be able to be in the moment, to connect with their inner creator, to connect with their optimum potential and really start making stuff happen in life. If you've been following my James Tripp blog, you will have seen I've been doing some articles and videos around clearing stuff out of your life so as you can flow more. So there's that stuff on that level as well. When you hit it on multiple levels, when you hit it from the mindset, you get the philosophy of flow. And there is a practical philosophy of flow. There is a way of engaging with the world where you start looking to clear things out and move things out the way so as you can participate more fully in the unfolding of life without getting in your way. There's a practical philosophical side to it. People don't usually think in terms of practical philosophy, but good philosophy should be pragmatic. It should make a difference in your life. So there's a practical philosophical side, but there's also a psychophysical side. A bunch of exercises and orientations. You want to change your brain. You want to reconnect with flow. What the Flowshop is all about, and as you're watching this on the Flowshop page, the Mind Flow Workshop is all about. It's about reconnecting to you to this. It's about taking you through exercises, live, real-time, vibrant, exciting exercises that start orientating you and connecting you back to your natural state of flow. If you're interested in coming on this workshop, be prepared for something like you've never done before. We're not going to be sitting around. I'm not going to be sharing step-by-step models. This is the six-part program to doing X, Y, and Z or anything like that. We're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be engaging. We're going to be learning to let go, to be in the moment. And the material that we're doing this through, it's a blend. Some of it comes from the martial arts stuff that I've done, some of it from music, some of it from improvisation, all sorts of places, some of it from hypnosis, some of it from meditation. It's coming together, and it is created for you to start changing your brain and your orientation so as you can have an autotelic engagement with life. So as you can connect more to the present, more to your creativity, more to your higher states of consciousness, that will enable you to become more of a creator in your own life, more empowered as a creator in your own life, more able, more equipped to begin shaping your reality, bringing the things that you want, creating the things you want into your life right now. Okay, I think this workshop's pretty radical. This Flowshop is pretty radical. I've not seen anything like this anywhere else where. There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. I really like the work of the 3 principles guys. I don't think it's the be all and end all. I love what the 3 principles guys are all about, which is clearing stuff out, quietening your thinking down, getting it out the way, because they're looking to connect people to flow. But I would say that there are greater ways of doing it than just changing your relationship with your thinking. That's a useful thing. We're going to be doing a bunch of that in the workshop. There are things that you can do physically. The mind and the body are one system. You know, if you have any understanding of the concepts of extended cognition, we don't just think with our grey matter, we think with our entire system, the mind-body system, even beyond, even the space beyond, extended cognition. This is important. This is what we're working with in the Flowshop. So we're going beyond just thinking, just changing our thinking directly at the level of thinking, and we're going and looking at changing our entire way of being at multiple levels. So, if you're interested in coming on this workshop, this Flowshop, the details are below on this page. I would love to have you along. You're going to need to dress in comfortable clothing. We're going to be doing a lot of moving. As we are moving, you will be learning, because there will be the practical philosophical element as well, which will be overlaid with the movement, the live flow activities. It's going to be absolutely exquisite. If you have any questions about this, you would like to know more about flow, about the Flowshop, about accessing flow, anything like that, please do make use of the comments section right at the bottom of this page to engage with me, and I will find out how I can serve you in answering your questions or addressing your perspectives. And when all of that is said, I would love to have you on the Flowshop, and it's going to be incredible fun as well as anything else. So if I see you there, I see you there. If not, take care, and we'll speak another time in another place.